Hi, I'm Michael Newrock, and welcome to the training lesson Profiteer Higher Time Frame Indicator. In this lesson, we're going to go over the higher time frame indicator and why it's so important, such a fundamental aspect of Profiteer trading. The Profiteer High Time Frame Indicator is a dynamic analysis of trends and swings in the higher time frames, otherwise referred to as HTF or HTFs. Three higher time frames are used to determine the fundamental nature of the movement of price in the market. Because they are dynamic, there is no lag and a trader can assess the higher time frames directly from their trading chart. Although any time frame can be chosen to be HTF, the three high time frames I primarily utilize are the 4-hour high time frame, the daily higher time frame, and the weekly higher time frame. You can use daily, weekly, monthly as well, particularly if you're trading, say, the daily charts, and you can also trade with shorter or lower higher time frames. For example, the alternative HTF settings I also use are the 1 hour, the 4-hour, and the daily time frame. So I might be inclined to use them if I was trading a really short time frame, like the 5-minute time frame, or even the 15-minute. But for myself, the 15-minute, I still personally prefer the 4-hour, the daily, and the weekly. But you're able to use any three high time frames that you choose to, and you can adjust the settings accordingly in your trade assistant. We'll get into that at another time. So let's have a closer look at the Profiteer higher time frame indicator. So right at the top here, you can see that the direction of the OTD, the overall trend direction, in this case is a blue bidirectional arrow. So we view it as a bidirectional market that's no more than 3 of the 6 high time frame indicators are in any one direction. So just to go over, if no more than 3 of the HTF directional indicators are in any one direction, a blue bidirectional arrow is displayed as the overall trend direction, suggesting that there is no dominant direction at the current time and only aggressive trades should be considered. Now, there's nothing wrong with aggressive trades. They're great. And in fact, you can get into the market even earlier than when there's 4 or more arrows pointing in the one direction. But you do need to play a little, or take a little more caution with those trades because of the nature of them. So let's have a look at an up overall trend direction. If 4 or more of the HTF directional indicators display a green up arrow, then the overall trend direction, OTD, will display a green up arrow, suggesting that the dominant direction currently is up or long. So let's have a look at that. In this case, you can see the overall trend direction is pointing up. It's a green up arrow, and that's because we have, in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4 of these 6 HTFs pointing up. Okay, and likewise, 5 or 6 directional displays, arrows as green up arrows make this overall trend direction arrow up. Now, it doesn't matter which of these arrows are pointing up and which are pointing down. The only thing that matters is that 4 or more are pointing in the one direction. Now, if you get to 6 arrows pointing in the one direction, that's good. It's showing strength in the market in that particular direction. But at the same time, it is a time to be a little cautious because the higher time frames are also telling us that the market could be at a point where there could be a correction because it is extended so far in the one direction. But we'll go over that on a case-by-case basis with a few examples later in this training. So any combination of the HTF directional arrows that have 4, 5, or 6 green up arrows will generate a valid green up overall trend direction OTD. Okay, 4 or more, it's in one direction. 3, it's bidirectional. That's basically it. So conversely, down overall trend direction, let's have a look at that. If 4 or more of the HTF directional indicators display a red down arrow, then the overall trend direction, the OTD, will display a red down arrow, suggesting that the dominant direction currently is down or short. So you want to look for selling that particular pair. Okay, so looking at it a little bit more closely, in this example, you can see 4 of the 6 directional arrows displayed as red down arrows. That's these ones here. And therefore, the overall trend direction, the OTD, is pointing down. So we're only looking at sells. In the previous examples where it was only up, we're obviously looking for only up trades. We're looking at buying. In this case, we're looking at selling because 4 of the 6 directional arrows are pointing down. Here's another example. We've got 5 of the 6 directional arrows displayed as red down arrows. Of course, the overall trend direction is down. Again, it doesn't matter which arrows are pointing down as long as there's 4 or more. 4, 5, or 6 gives us a strong sell opportunity at that particular pair. That's what we're looking at, and you shouldn't, unless you have some really compelling reason, you shouldn't be looking at taking a trade in the opposite direction. Okay, the only time when you can really look at taking a trade in either direction is when it's a bidirectional market. That's when it has that blue bidirectional arrow. Okay, so any combination of the HTF directional arrows that have 4, 5, or 6 red down arrows will generate a valid red down overall trend direction OTD. So that's all there is to the high time frames, but don't let its simplicity fool you. It is incredibly strong, and I've spoken before about swimming against the current, for example, as opposed to swimming or sailing with the current. It's always better to go with the current, and the HTFs are what tells us which direction is dominant at that particular time. Of course, it's going to change. It's always changing. That's the only constant in life and in trading is change. So, but we want to make sure that we're trading in that direction. And I always say my only loyalty to the is to the market. And what I mean by that is that I'm going to trade in whichever way the market is telling me that the dominant direction is going. Regardless, try to filter out the news, try to filter out upcoming events or what's happening in the world or what should be happening. And I can give you plenty of examples, but I'll leave that for webinars as we go through the markets week by week. And often it's the case that what the market should be doing is not what's happening. So it's important to, in my mind, as a technical trader, to always trade with the overall trend direction. Okay, so thanks for watching. I'm going to leave it at that, but I've got a couple of tasks under this lesson as well as some FAQs, so have a look through them. You can also download this video below. You can open it up, and then on the bottom right of the video there's a little download link, and you can also download the special report that goes along with this. And there's also a link to the forum. So, as always, I welcome you to ask any questions or to get more clarification, to upload charts with some examples. And that's really the best way of learning through that process. But so make sure you participate and come along to the forum. And obviously, I want to get you up to speed as quickly as possible. So, until next time we meet, good trading, live well, and I'll see you soon.